Hello again everyone, it's me Android21, back for another video it would seem. If you all remember from last time, Michael of Random did a short little video where he had a little fun with me and my evil half's voice models on FakeYou, also known as Vocodes. Well, he's decided to make another one seeing as he loved the first one so much. But today he has something different planned for us today. And today I am going to be discussing movies. Now if I'm honest, I'm not exactly the best film critic, but I will do my best to share my thoughts and feelings towards these specific films we will be talking about. Unfortunately, I won't be reviewing films that I would recommend or enjoyed, if you couldn't tell by the title of this video, as instead I'm going to be talking about some very bad films. Most of these are also films that Michael of Random doesn't like, or doesn't care about, but for the sake of things I won't include every film he dislikes. Michael of Random was also inspired by a YouTuber named the Queen of Lions video where she had Drew Pickles talk about some bad movies as well. He was originally going to make this a Drew Pickles video, but he decided to change it to an Android21 video it would seem, which I'm honestly okay with. Besides, I reckon these videos involving me will be quite fun, and I hope everyone can also agree. So without further ado, why don't we start with the first film that's on this list? Hey now, my other half! I believe that you're forgetting someone. Did you think that Mikey would allow a video involving Android21 wouldn't include both of us, right? Honestly, you're just like those crybabies who say they love you over me all because you're cuter and nice. Pathetic. Other me, please don't interrupt me when I'm talking or starting a video. It's really rude. Sorry, but you know the rules. It's not an Android21 video if I'm not featured in it. But can I at least tear these films apart along with you? Not if you keep interrupting me. Now let's begin. The first movie we are going to look at is Shrek the Third, released in 2007 by DreamWorks Animation. This one is regarded as the worst out of the Shrek films and not as good as the other two before it. Michael of Random used to like this film when he was much younger, but after rewatching it again as part of his Shrek marathon, he has since then changed his mind about it. What exactly is this movie supposed to be about anyway? Well, apparently Princess Fiona's father King Harold has died, meaning that Shrek is to become the next king of far, far away. But he doesn't want to be king. So instead he goes on an adventure to find Fiona's cousin Arthur Pendragon to be his stand-in. Meanwhile, Prince Charming from Shrek 2 returns and wants revenge on Shrek so that he can become king of far, far away. There is also a subplot about Fiona being pregnant and Shrek being a father. But it is hardly ever brought up throughout the film and is meant to be the main selling point of the movie. Wow! So I guess it's one of those films that are just all over the place. I feel like we may have seen something like that before. What else is there about this one? Well, aside from the animation, voice acting and some of the songs in the soundtrack being quite good, the film suffers from having too many characters, most of them being not that memorable, lack of main focus and tone, and none of the jokes in general are at all that funny, unlike the previous films which had a lot more clever writing than in this film. Wow! Talk about a downgrade. I do recall seeing the first two films but not this one. If anything, the title is probably the only memorable thing about this excuse of a movie. Well, Michael of Random will admit that there were a few things he did like about this movie. For one, he did find the medieval high school concept rather interesting. Second, the ending with Shrek, Fiona and their kids was quite sweet and wholesome. And third, the scene involving Shrek and Arthur talking about their experiences with their fathers around the campfire and Arthur's inspirational speech to the villains. Really now? Well, I suppose, unlike the Gingerbread Man, this movie was rather half-baked, which is not how I enjoy my sweets, I should add. Moving on, the next film on our list is the Emoji Movie, released in 2017 by Sony Pictures Animation. I don't think we need to say much about this movie, as it has been talked about and reviewed to death by several other people. And if either of us were to give you our thoughts, it would probably just be the same as everyone else. Who in their right mind even thought that this movie would have been such a good idea in the first place? Are they really that dense or just stupid? Oh, I couldn't even imagine the amount of suffering Mikey had to endure while watching this abominable disgrace. Remind me to put the team behind this movie all out of their misery later. Well, if he is completely honest, Michael of Random has never actually seen this movie. He saw a few reviews of it in the past, and yet he still thinks this movie is awful. and that he's glad that he never saw the whole film in its entirety either, as it would have been much worse. Which leads us to our next film on this list.
Good! Then we are skipping this piece of shit!
I suppose yes. Our next film is Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Long Haul, released the same year by 20th Century Fox. And unlike the Emoji Movie, this is one Michael of Random had seen. And like Shrek the Third, it is known as the worst in the film series it is a part of. Michael of Random did review this movie in the past, and let's just say he really didn't like this one. Even to this day, he still considers this one of the worst films he had ever seen and one of the worst cinematic experiences he ever had.
Oh Lord, it's even worse than the Emoji Movie! Actually, I do recall Mikey saying something about this film once. He certainly was not happy about it.
No, he wasn't. He went to see this movie as part of a trip to the cinema at his secondary school. He did see reviews of it before he saw it, and the film was even worse when he saw it for himself. To quote Michael of Random, "It was torture." After the movie was over, he literally screamed "This movie sucks" out loud in the theater and began bashing his head against the wall, ranting how stupid the movie was.
What? Okay, that's it. That's fucking it. Nobody tortures my sweet little Mikey like that. A movie that bad it can almost drive people insane. No wonder it's on this list. I actually feel sympathy for any poor soul who had to sit through this garbage. And keep in mind, everyone, I'm supposed to be the evil Android 21 here.
Well, there are plenty of other reasons as to why this movie is bad. Just like Shrek the Third, none of the jokes are funny and come off as cringe-inducing. It doesn't feel like it's connected to the series. The characters have all been recast and their personalities are one-dimensional. The story barely follows the book it is based on, featuring elements that were not present, such as the diaper hands gag. And any attempt at this movie trying to be at least fun or enjoyable just ends up failing miserably. It was quite clear that not a lot of effort went into this movie, and it solely exists, has nothing but a cheap cash in just to make a quick buck off of a popular brand.
Not to mention they got rid of Devin Bostick, the original actor of Roderick Heffley, and replaced him with a Chinese bootleg of Kylo Ren. He's not even worthy enough to be an appetizer. Hashtag not my Roderick.
I would have to agree. Michael of Random and I enjoyed the first 3 films over this one. The Disney Plus animated film was okay, but it could have been better. But as for this one, it's a no, I'm afraid. This is certainly one of those films where the book was better than the movie. And that's not just coming from me, but from Michael of Random as well, as he enjoyed the original book more.
I would have to agree. This film pales in comparison to the book, and this is coming from someone who spends almost all of her time reading them.
Hold on. Who are you? And what are you doing in our video?
Oh, that's Belle from Beauty and the Beast. She's quite the book fanatic from what I've heard.
Oh, can I eat her then?
No, you cannot. But my other half is right. What exactly are you doing here, Belle?
Well, I was just minding my own business until I overheard you both talking about the Long Haul movie and how it failed in comparison to the original book, and thought perhaps I could also express my thoughts on it as well.
Well, I suppose a second opinion from someone who actually did read the original book is much appreciated. Not to mention it even further shows how awful the film is in comparison.
Well, yes, I did very much enjoy the book. I especially liked the part where Roderick mistook the mini-safe for a microwave. As for the film, I would rather accept Aston's proposal than watch that abominable thing again.
Now that you mention it, I think I remember this Belle now. She's the one with that gorgeous gown that one of my Key's friends drew a picture of us in for him. But enough rambling. Need I remind you the title of this video? It's called Android 21 Talks About Bad Movies. Not Android 21 and Belle Talk About Bad Movies.
Alright, sorry. I was only trying to give my thoughts was all, but I suppose you have a fair point, seeing as I probably shouldn't be here. Plus I reckon my Call of Random doesn't want to risk getting sued by Disney for including me in this video, and Beast is probably worried about me. I'll let you both carry on with your film reviews.
Oh no, that was pretty unexpected.
Why, yes, it was, but I didn't mind it. Plus she seemed like a nice person. Anyway, shall we move on to the next film on our list?
Sure, but how about we pick something a little more mature in comparison to these last ones, which were nothing but child's play?
Very well then. Our next film is the Mortal Kombat reboot, released in 2021 by New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers Pictures. This was the supposed said darker and more violent Mortal Kombat film that fans of the series had been wishing for, but unfortunately, it failed to meet Michael of Random's expectations.
Oh, a bad reboot, you say? Well, it sounds like we're already off to a bad start. So how does this film fail in comparison to the others?
Well, let's start with the positives first. The film's rendition of the Mortal Kombat theme song is quite good. Michael of Random would even go as far as to say he likes it more than the original. The gore isn't too bad as it is what you would expect from the series, and some of the fight scenes were quite alright. And probably one of the best parts about this film would be the actor of Kano. Whilst I'm not a big fan of Mortal Kombat unlike Michael of Random, I will admit, Josh Lawson did a more phenomenal job as the character of Kano. Unfortunately, not even he or any of the other things I listed could save this movie. Much like with The Long Haul, they butchered everything about the Mortal Kombat lore and series as a whole. They introduced a new power called an Arcana, which is apparently what all the Mortal Kombat characters get their powers from, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Oh, lucky for you, I actually know a few things about Mortal Kombat. And I can certainly tell you that this magic Arcana nonsense is not where some of these characters get their powers from. But how does this silly thing work anyway?
Well, apparently it's meant to be an inner power token within an Earthrealm champion that possesses a dragon mark. The mark, which provides the power of Arcana, can be passed to another person if they kill one of the warriors. Sometimes it takes time, or it can just wake up when it feels like it, like with Sonya Blade.
What? So are you telling me that it's either not because of Kano's cybernetic eye or Jax's robot arms, or how Kung Lao is skilled with a blade hat, but it's because of magic?
Well, yes, pretty much. This is what I meant by how the film butchered everything about Mortal Kombat in terms of its lore and series. Not to mention, even though the series is all about a fighting tournament, there is literally no fighting tournament in this movie, as the film's plot is all about the villains wanting to prevent the tournament from happening.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? You mean these idiots made a Mortal Kombat movie but without the Mortal Kombat tournament? Did the team behind this film even play the fucking games before they made this?
Well, I've never played any of the Mortal Kombat games, obviously, as I don't really like gore all that much. And even I think that this film did the series dirty, but I haven't gotten into the other things that make it terrible. Aside from Kano, most of the characters are quite bland and forgettable, and are just hollow shells of who they once were. One of these characters in particular is the main protagonist, Cole Young.
Hold on. I've never heard of this character before. He sounds more like a Street Fighter character instead of a Mortal Kombat character.
Well, Cole Young is a character exclusive to this film. He is meant to act as the audience being introduced to the world of Mortal Kombat. Aside from that, he is also an unsuccessful MMA fighter who also has a family he cares for, as well as a descendant of Scorpion. His Arcana power is a sort of golden armor which he wears where he can absorb damage and create weapons. His awakens when Goro arrives and tries to kill him and his family. He never really won any fights. Well, aside from Goro, now I'm not hating on the actor, Lustan, but I think perhaps he could have just been written a little better.
Well, he certainly does sound bland. I bet he even tastes bland as well if I ever decided to turn him into candy and eat him. If they really wanted to go for a character the audience could relate to, why not choose that oh so delicious Johnny Cage?
Well, apparently Johnny Cage is going to be featured in the sequel where they're supposedly going to learn from this film's mistakes, but Michael of Random says he won't be interested in it. Before this movie was released, there was also an animated Mortal Kombat film called Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge, which Michael of Random thought was much better than this film. Speaking of bad reboots, this brings us to our next film, that being the Hellboy reboot released in 2019 by Lionsgate Pictures. Much like the previous film, this was supposed to be the more darker and grittier take on the series it's based on. Unlike The Long Haul, it is regarded as the inferior one in comparison to the first two Hellboy movies with Ron Perlman.
Oh no! Another one! How did they screw up Hellboy this time?
Like with Mortal Kombat, they butchered everything that made the series special. And like The Long Haul, it exists as nothing more but an empty cash-in on a popular brand. And also like Shrek the Third, the film suffers from a lack of tone and doesn't know what it wants to be. One half, it tries to be a comedy like the Deadpool movies, and on the other it tries to be a horror like with the Evil Dead movies. The special effects look laughably bad, most of the characters are unlikable, Any attempt at it trying to be funny or enjoyable, or even raise stakes just fails. Michael of Random saw this movie with his father on DVD, and they both thought that it was terrible, but they never finished it as they couldn't take any more of it.
Not to mention the overusage of the F word. I mean, I don't mind cussing or swearing, and neither does Mikey, but this movie script sounds as if a 13-year-old wrote it. Honestly, why couldn't we just get a third Hellboy movie with Ron Perlman instead? That would have been so much better than this trash.
I think a lot of other people would have preferred that as well, my other half. Aside from all of that, I don't really know what else to talk about with this film.
Well, all everyone needs to know is that it's just awful. Let's say we get to the worst of the worst on this list finally.
Very well then. Our last film for today will be none other than Dragon Ball Evolution, released in 2009 by 20th Century Fox.
Oh no! Please no!
Yes, other me. We are going there. I mean, what else is there to say about this movie? Almost everyone who loves Dragon Ball greatly despises this movie. Even the toxic Dragon Ball fans and people who aren't Dragon Ball fans hate this movie. If you thought the Hellboy and Mortal Kombat reboots were bad, this film is much worse than both of them.
Where do we even start with this? I think it's clear that live-action anime and manga adaptations are just the worst. And this film is the #1 example. The idiots behind this movie got everything about our series so wrong. And it almost killed the franchise because of it. Goku's a high school student and not even a Saiyan. Piccolo looks like Jim Carrey from The Mask. And instead of ki, they use airbending. What is this? Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's not even the right fucking show. Those morons over at Fox didn't care a single bit for our franchise when making this movie, and it shows.
That's roughly what every review of this film would sound like. But my other half is right, as the studio didn't care one bit about Dragon Ball and only made it to make more money. Thankfully, Akira Toriyama then created Battle of Gods, as well as Dragon Ball Super, to remind everyone how great the Dragon Ball series was and restored to its former glory.
And that's when we came along in Dragon Ball Fighters. And this poor excuse of a Dragon Ball movie was quickly forgotten about until we just now mentioned it. Now, can we go back to pretending that this movie doesn't exist again?
Yes, we can, as I think this video has gone on long enough. And I think this will do it for today.
Actually, my other half, can I do the outro for the video this time?
Well, seeing as you've been able to behave yourself, I suppose you can end the video here for us.
Good. Well, if you all enjoyed this video, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to my dear Mikey for more videos such as these. And if you want to see us review more films like these, leave some suggestions down below, or for anything else you'd like to see me and my other half do for a future video. But nothing naughty. And thank you Vegeto1089 for both of our voice models in this video, and JacobLenstar for the voice model of Belle. Now if you excuse me, I'm off to treat myself to some yummy sweets in the meantime, and then I'll punish everyone responsible for the Emoji Movie and Dragon Ball Evolution, as well as the other terrible movies on this list.
Oh, I should also mention, if you do like the films listed here, then that's okay. It's just Michael of Random's opinion, and we're all entitled to having our own opinion on something. Well, this has been both the good and evil Android 21. And we'll both see you all next time in the next video. Goodbye, everyone!